Oh, you fool.
Hello.
Hello, is that Nik Kershaw?
It is.
Hello, Nick. It's Lee here from Heartfm in Spain.
Hi, Lee. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Not bad, not bad.
Have you got time for a quick chat with me?
Absolutely. Expecting your call.
Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, I'd just like to talk a little bit of the history of Nik Kershaw, if that's okay.
Sure.
You started out, I understand, as a jazz funk guitarist.
That was one of my various incarnations. Yeah. I started out in bands in Ipswich when just my own bands doing sort of bizarre and strange original material. And just doing sort of, Bowie and T-Rex covers and Deep Purple and all that kind of stuff. But I did spend quite a while, being in a functions band, a guitarist in a functions band. But we used to play a lot of jazz fusion material as well in pubs and clubs, like Weather Report, City Dan, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. I wasn't a singer, I was a guitarist, yeah.
So how did the transition from guitar to singer come about?
Well, I was. It was about 82, I think it was, the last recession, and the work dried up for the band. So we basically split up and went our various ways. And I was on the dole for about a year, and I just borrowed a Porter studio from a mate, who's one of the original old TAC Porter studios with you stick a cassette in, and you got a little studio. Yeah. And I just made some demos when I just started writing songs then, really. I'd sort of dabbled in it before, but not sort of seriously. And I just sent them off to record companies and got the usual replies and responses, not what we're looking for at the moment. And then I got management I advertised for management in Melody Maker and got someone who took the same tape to the same people and got me a record deal, which is all a bit strange because I hadn't really. I kind of thought I was just writing songs, just sort of see if I get publishing deal or just try and get them, recorded by other people. Then all of a sudden I was making a record.
That's not bad, is it? That was with MCA, yeah.
Yes, it was, yeah.
And that's where you recorded things like I Won't Let the Sun Go Down, and of course the first album. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, most of that album was on that demo that I made in a dodgy old farm cottage in the middle of Essex.
It must have been really exciting times though to suddenly sort of be thrust right out there with a hit album and hit singles all over the place. Right. It was
very exciting. It was bewildering, confusing, exciting, terrifying. It was all those things at once, because you just don't have control. It just when it gets that big that quickly, you just don't have control over the thing. It's got a life of its own, really. Go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, and then being on stage at Live Aid must have been an awesome experience.
That was terrifying. That was absolutely terrifying. And it was an extraordinary day. There's no doubt about it. It was a privilege to have been there. But I think everybody there was in the same boat. Even people that have been doing it for all their lives. I think it was still kind of a big deal for them as well. Because you've got to remember when it happened, we kind of take those kind of events for granted now because and the technology is there to make them happen. But at the time, it was all pretty much put together with gaffer tape and bits of string. It was just, and the fact that it actually came off at all was extraordinary.
Oh, it was. I mean, I can remember I was actually in a nightclub at the time. I was working as a DJ, and we opened during the day, and we actually had it on a big screen in there, and it was like everybody felt the same way. It was just really exciting, right from the moment when Quo started off, right the way through the day and into the night. It was just an awesome experience.
It was, and it's just, as I said, it's happened so often since. It's just kind of, you just take them for granted now. Oh, it's another big gig and it's on the telly, but it's just. But that was extraordinary, how it all came about. I think we've forgotten that.
And then you carried on recording, but you actually worked with Elton John, playing on Nikita.
He just asked me if I'd play guitar on the Ice on Fire album, and that was, he just played me some tracks and said, "What do you want to play on?" And there were 3 tracks I think I played on. I said I want to play on that one and that Nikita one. So that's me chugging away on rhythm guitar in the background.
Brilliant, brilliant.
It was great fun. It was spent a couple of days in the studio with Elton and his band, and it was just again a privilege.
I've got to ask you this because it's one of the things I'd love to find out. Is he really as bad as Tantrums and Tiaras painted it? You don't have to answer, but
no. I think it was a very, very brave documentary that was, and it was David that shot it. So that is true. I mean, and he wouldn't have let he obviously doesn't mind people knowing that because he wouldn't have let the documentary out in the first place. But it was. It doesn't. I don't think it did him any favors because it doesn't show. It didn't. I don't think it really showed the best side of him. It showed that part of him. And sure, every now and again I wandered past his dressing room and a plate of sushi would fly out of it. But that did happen. But what the documentary didn't really show was what a funny man he is. He's absolutely hilarious. A generous man and loyal man he is. He's really a great company and great to be around most of the time. But yes, he had. When you've had people, when you've been surrounded by people who are sort of at your service for years and years and years, I guess it's easy to kind of get into a space where you just assume that everything is there for you,
Yeah.
And I guess he gets trapped in that occasionally. I mean, I was to a much lesser extent found myself in that position, as well, so I can kind of empathise with where his head is at when he has a little do.
Moving on to the 90s, you actually wrote one of the classic tracks of the 90s, as far as I'm concerned, which is The One and Only.
Yeah.
Movie theme song and also a huge UK hit.
It wasn't just the UK; it was a top 10 state US hit, and it was worldwide. That one.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, how did that come about? Was it just something you thought, oh yeah, I'm going to write this song, or was it you were actually asked to write the song?
No, it was just kind of sitting around on a shelf somewhere. I'd stopped recording in '89 to sort of concentrate on writing for other people, and that was just kind of one of the early ones. And I just remember recording it and sticking it on a tape and forgetting about it for about a year. And then Tisney's dad walked into Warner Chappell offices in London and said, "Look, we're making this movie with Roger Daltrey. My son's in it. We need a song just to, promote the launch of the movie. Blah blah. What have you got?" And they played him The One and Only, and he said, "Oh, that one." So it's as simple as that, really. I mean, that's how lucky you can get sometimes.
Yeah, because I mean that just turned out to be such a huge hit. I mean, even now people still sort of requesting still ask for it.
Well, I do, and it's one of those you can't sort of you can't sit down and say I'm going to write a song like this, but it's turned out to be I'm always getting asked from advertising companies and if it can be used on adverts and stuff. It's currently at the moment, I don't know about where you are, but in the UK it's currently on a Renault Clio advert.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So it's got a life of its own.
It never goes away.
And bizarrely enough, I was singing it last night with Chesney in a pub in Southsea.
No.
Yeah, a little acoustic gig. We just a really sort of informal, friendly gig we got. It was good fun.
That must have been brilliant. I wish I'd have seen that.